How can fear possibly be your friend? And why would you and I want to feel friendly toward fear? It seems like the opposite of what we would want to happen, doesn't it? Anxiety, fear, stress, and overwhelm. It leaves us all with the same feeling of not being in control of our lives, and even more frightening that we may not be in control of our thoughts and our feelings. As I've mentioned in previous episodes, I have a degree in art therapy, so I have a bit of experience in mental health counseling. There is a pattern that I've noticed in all of us that experience feelings that are overwhelming and that are not positive. The pattern is that we are afraid of feelings that we believe are negative. We are afraid of stress. We are afraid of anxiety. We are afraid of overwhelm. Isn't that so interesting? Maybe you think it's not so interesting because it's so heart-wrenching and upsetting to feel any of those feelings. But why are we afraid of those feelings? Why do we believe that they are so powerful that in some way they will overcome us? We do not believe that happiness or joy is going to overwhelm us. We fear our fear. We are frightened by our anxiety. Why? Let's say a bill comes in and we aren't sure how we are going to pay it. So we are worried about the bill. We start to feel stress and anxiety and overwhelm. Our thoughts start to race. We feel uncomfortable and we don't feel in control of ourselves at that moment. Now we have spiraled into a place of being fearful in every way. But think of it. This all started simply with a bill that we're not quite sure how we're going to pay. Maybe it is a situation at work that isn't going the way you want it to, or something at home that just isn't unfolding the way you had hoped. We think about that situation or circumstance more and more, and again, the emotions build up, a variety of overwhelm, anxious, fear, and negativity. But the remarkable aspect is that the situation, circumstance, or problem in and of itself, usually the majority of time, is not that great. Whether it is a bill being paid, a situation at the job, or a circumstance at home, sooner or later, everything works out one way or another, doesn't it, my friend? Yet we feel overwhelmed. But if you examine it, are we overwhelmed by whatever it is that we're dealing with, or is it the feelings behind it that are truly what is overwhelming us? What if you and I weren't afraid of feelings that are what we deem as negative? What if we accepted fear and overwhelm, stress and anxiety the same way that we accept joy and happiness? I understand that may seem like an absurd proposition to embrace our fear and to make it our friend, but when you and I do the opposite, when we are afraid of negative feelings, those negative feelings therefore engulf us, overwhelm us, and seemingly overtake us and our lives. What can you and I do in a practical way so that we do not feel so overwhelmed and afraid of fear itself? What we can do, my friend, is allow those feelings to be, the same way that we allow joy or happiness to be. A bill comes in and you don't know how you're going to pay it. Allow that fear to be there. There is a situation at work or at home, and you don't know how to handle it, and because of that, you feel anxious. Allow the anxious feeling to be there. We expend so much energy attempting to make feelings go away. What if instead we gave them the right to be? This may not seem like a solution, but I promise you it is. If we expend less energy attempting to make the reactions that we have go away, in that we are constantly and consistently trying to get rid of fear, anxiety, stress, and overwhelm. If instead we just accepted those feelings, the reactions that our body and mind are having, those feelings will pass much more quickly. I don't want to hurt your feelings, or mine for that matter, because I know what it's like to feel stressed and overwhelmed by life. I know how it feels to have one's mind run on and subject hop about all the things in our lives that we do not feel we have control over. I am not minimizing or disregarding how you or I feel for that matter. What I am saying, though, is that there's a different way that we can allow our feelings to affect us. And simply put, we can accept fear, anxiety, stress, and overwhelm the same way we accept joy and happiness in our lives. And through the simple act of not always pushing away or trying to overcome feelings that are negative, and above all, not judging those feelings, the stress, overwhelm, and anxiety will leave more quickly. If we are willing to do a life experiment and allow fear to be our friend, even for just 1 week, that when stress, anxiety, overwhelm, or anything that you don't particularly want to feel, if you allow it to arise and not judge it, you'll be happy because that feeling will dissipate and leave much more quickly than it had previously. Because, as the saying goes, what we resist persists. And so in our good effort to make stress, anxiety, fear, and overwhelm go away, we're actually causing it to increase unknowingly. There is no judgment about this, my friend. You and I have been taught that we should avoid those feelings, stress, anxiety, fear, overwhelm, or anything of that sort is bad and we want it to go away. But in and of itself, it isn't bad and it isn't good. It's just a psychological and physiological reaction that our body is having to something that it feels threatened by. Feelings really cannot harm us. They can't overtake us. They truly can't, my friend. But you and I have to be willing to believe that in order for it to be so. If you try for just 1 week to allow negative feelings to arise and then to not judge them or try to force them to go away, but instead allow them to be, they'll dissipate quickly, and in a week from now, you'll feel so much more free. Just as you and I learned that negative feelings are something to get rid of, you and I can unlearn that. Negative feelings or positive feelings, they will pass. Because the ebb and flow of life is that feelings come and feelings go. You are much more powerful than you have given yourself credit for. I see your strength, I see your beauty, and I acknowledge it. Allow fear to be your friend, and in that you will find your freedom. If Swanky Genius encouragements helped your heart, we'd be ever so grateful if you liked, commented, subscribed, shared our podcast, and check out our book, journal, and coloring book series featuring Lamp the cat and Swanky Genius the bird, who are whimsical best pals at swankygenius.com.